Hi there, in this video I'm going to be going over my helmet setup for Milsim and Magfed paintball events. Check it out. So one of the questions I get asked a lot when I'm out at events, people see me running my helmet with a camera, with a headset and with a goggle system, and I think a lot of people struggle to get that combination together in a way that fits comfortably, looks the part and functions the way you want it to. Mask systems are designed to protect as much of your face as possible, and so are helmet systems. And then when you have something that goes over your ears, when you have a mask covering your ears, it's difficult to get those where you want them to go. So I'll run through my setup. To be honest, the way I've got it now, it's perfect for me. I can adjust it, I can manipulate it, it fits together well, and it's easy to put on yourself. Because that's another problem you have, is when you try to get all this stuff together to go, you get called for a 5-minute call into a game and you're trying to get all your kit ready. It's really easy to forget to plug something in, put something where you want it, and to get everything to fit into the helmet and not rattle around. It can be a bit of a faff. I've put together a solution that works for me and I'll share that with you guys, so hopefully that can help you out. First off, we are going to need the helmet. Here it is in all its glory. Okay, so the story of my helmet. This helmet it's either an FMA or actually, no, it's a One Tegris helmet originally. So when I was looking to get a helmet, first off, I had seen lots of these videos, that cable away so it doesn't bang about. I saw lots of videos of people chopping bits out of helmets so that mask systems could go in there, and I thought, what's the point in chopping all these things up to make the helmet work and everything? In my mind, I thought that getting a helmet with a retention system inside the helmet would be the best way, and then I'd find out a way to manipulate the padding to allow the goggle system to fit. Completely ignorant to everything, so I made sure I looked for a reasonably priced helmet that had the option to one of these little dials on the back that when you fit your helmet on, you tension it up. I basically thought it would be the best idea to have this retention system in there that I could tighten up so that it would keep the helmet secure on my head, because it was going to be my camera platform that I was going to mount my camera on here, and I wanted it to be as stable as possible to reduce rattling and all that. The truth of it is, it's hard to reduce all rattling. There will be some. The way that ratchet system works, there's a plastic inner band that goes around there that when you mess around with the insides, it buckles it up, or you have to cut it or something, and it gets in the way of your mask when it goes up into your helmet. I'll get that retention system out here, and then I'll go through the reasons why I removed it and swapped it out. Okay, so here is that retention system, and it basically sat in the helmet like that. It's fixed in there like so, with these bits in here, and then this was the chin strap that connected on here and come around there. Okay, so that's where your forehead goes on this bit. Let's move that there. That's where your forehead went on here, and then this is the plastic retention. So when you turn this handle backwards and forwards, it basically pushes the plastic out and in on there. As a base helmet, if I was going to wear this with just goggles for airsoft or something, wasn't going to use it with a full face paintball mask. This is an awesome setup to have in the helmet, probably the best setup to have in the helmet, because it allows you to get that helmet fixed on your head. Now, I know in the real world, the military guys don't like these kind of headsets because they can't. A lot of the guys tend to run their headsets under their helmets in case they have to take the helmet off when they're out in the field. They can still have their comms on it. If they take the helmet off and their comms are attached to their helmet, then they can't use their comms when the helmet's off. A bit of a mixed bag with this. You can move the because this sticks on the Velcro in there. You can move it up and down in the helmet to give you clearance for your mask, and that's what I did. I kind of took this out and I put it up like that in the mask to give me clearance to get the mask under the front of the helmet. But what a lot of people do is they cut a big chunk of that out. And you can do that as well. You can cut a massive bit out of there. But if you do cut that out, this band has to be chopped, and then you end up chopping out this plastic bit and you lose the ratchet. And seen all these different options that people do. The reason you buy it is for the ratchet, and if you adapt it and mod it and cut that plastic strap, you lose the ability to use the ratchet. What I found was, no matter what I did, I couldn't get enough room in the front of the helmet for the mask to sit properly on my face. And what would happen with my camera system on the front and the weight of the helmet sort of weighted down towards the front, it was pushing down on my mask, and the mask was pushing on the bridge of my nose. It isn't a game changer, but when you're doing that for quite a while, for a day, people would think I'd have a cold because you'd be talking like that. There's enough pressure to make you talk funny. So I rethought the whole thing, watched a couple of videos on how people in the real steel world set up their helmets, and realised that they do a lot of faffing around with the foam inserts. They rip these out and then they change the foam inserts. So get rid of this. What I did, I unbolted all 4 of these screws, took out that insert, and I purchased just a regular strap insert here. Okay, so I couldn't get green, I ended up getting tan, but it goes quite well with the green. Just a padded back insert, and then you tension everything up with these straps here. So similar design, just without all the plastic. And what this does, I don't know if you can see that in here, it frees up the entire inside of the helmet, so there's more space. I tried to see if I could set these headsets up inside the helmet. It was too close to my head. I couldn't quite get the headsets under the edges here, so I don't know if it's an actual like for like Milsim spec helmet, or whether the headsets are just a bit too wide, or my head was a bit too wide, whatever. But it wouldn't do that, so I've gone for the helmet mounted system. I'm only ever going to be running the headset on the helmet. Now there's different foam inserts you can get, and I'll just get a couple of them out to show you now. Right, so these ones came with the helmet, and they're like these big foam style pieces. So they're solid foam with like gel pads on the back, and you can kind of pull them out and stick them around on all these different elements inside. It's really noisy to mess around with Velcro on the mic, so I'm going to avoid it wherever possible. You can kind of pull these out, put them in. They go around the sides, up the top, at the back. You can go wherever you want. The other style, they're just plain, they're just straightforward gel pads, and they stick to Velcro. And the same thing, you can stick them at the top, the side, the front. Wherever you put Velcro, they'll stick to. If you want more clearance, you put these bigger, thicker pads in. You want less clearance, or you want to shift the weight, helmet further forward or further back, you use smaller pads. By using the various different sizes and thicknesses, you can manipulate your helmet quite well. I've got quite minimal pads in here at the moment. I've got one of the gel pads at the back here, because I want more clearance at the front of my mask, and also I've got all the straps at the back of my mask, so that gives me clearance at the back for the straps, and gives me the ability to pull the peak of the helmet over the front of a mask. I've put a couple of pads here at the front, which is my buffer, so my mask can actually get all the way in from the nose of the helmet down to that first pad. It can get that far without hitting any obstructions in the front here, which gives me lots more options with making it more comfortable on my face. My helmet does sit quite low on my goggles now. I have kind of reversed the problem I had. It was sitting at the top, and now it's come down a bit. I'm going to play about with the pads a bit more and get it to sit right. I'll put it all on towards the end of the video to show what it looks like. Essentially, I've got the pads at the front. My forehead sits on this bunch of pads at the front here, which keeps it nice and comfortable for the weight of the camera and the fact that the headphones are heavy, so everything's pulling it down on my head. These pads keep it comfy. And I've got the gel pad at the back, and I've got these other 2 pads here in the middle, sort of just behind, there we go, here and here, and they kind of sit forward and back of the top of my head. So the helmet sort of sits nicely on my head, and then the headset keeps it on here, chin strap keeps everything tied on together. The biggest thing that I've found out with setting up a helmet, working between the different styles of insert pads and this bog standard, strapping system that I avoided in the first instance, you can get way more configurations of fit and comfort and how your helmet sits on your head with this setup than you ever will with the plastic setup. It's rigid, and if you move it, the plastic gets in the way. I wholly recommend, if you're looking for a helmet setup, look for a setup that gives you the most options. All the pads are Velcroed in, they come out. There isn't a plastic retention system that you've got to chop up or mod, a huge piece of hard foam at the front that you've got to cut and chop. Just use Velcro. When you buy these pads, they also come with the Velcro side for the rest of them, lots of little Velcro stickers. So even if you don't have lots of Velcro in your helmet, you can stick that wherever you want it, and then you can put your pads onto it. It's really versatile. Really recommend that. So that's the first thing, is the fit of the helmet with a mask. It's really important that if you're going to be wearing it for long periods, what you don't want to have is your mask on your face and your helmet tipped back up, and a gap between your helmet and your mask where you can see your forehead. And you don't want your mask sitting on your goggles and they're pushing your goggles all the way down your face and hurting your nose and stuff like that. You want your helmet to function as a helmet and not impede what you're doing. You want your mask to work as a mask and not impede what you're doing. I'm confident finally I've struck the right balance with all of this. This is now my helmet setup. I might occasionally play around with the pads, but essentially I'm not going to change anything else. I was going to get a whole new helmet at one point because I couldn't get it to work, and then I just bought this new strap. Was about 14 or 16 pounds, so less than $20. The helmet itself, when I got it, was just under £50, so $60, $70. And if I'd have known this back then, I could have bought myself a helmet that already had this system in and already had pads as opposed to the ratchet system, and could have saved myself $20, 14 quid for this. These pads come in handy. I would recommend buying these because having loads of these helps. These also come in handy if you run T15s. They come in handy because they're like gel foam. I use these cut up in my mag pouches to stop my mags activating. I'm going to do a video on that at some point in the future, show you how to do that and how that works. Top tip, keep an eye out for that video if you have issues with your mags activating in your pouches. These come in handy for that. They're not expensive. They were less than £10 for that set and you get loads. So like $12, $15 you get a bunch of those, and they're multi-purpose. They're really good. Moving around, that's the inners, the guts of it, and how it fits with the mask. I've got my Punisher morale patches on it, and if I tell you I have to kill you, Union Jack morale patch. This is a multicam black cover, and that just fits over the top and velcros onto these inner velcro bits, and it also sticks onto the outside velcro. Why is that on there? So the helmet has air holes in the top of it, some quite big air holes. If you get hit by a paintball, they can go through there. Getting hit by a paintball hurts. It's not on there to protect me from getting hit by paint. It's a lightweight barrier from debris and stuff getting in there. I find it really useful. It's also got this retention on here, so if I do want to put a battery pack on to run to my camera, I can stick that in this retention. It can velcro stuff on. If I'm not using comms, I normally keep the headset on there. I'll coil the cable up and stick it under the bungee, and it breaks up the green. Having solid green helmet, it just breaks it up, makes it a bit more interesting. Obviously I've got the Earmor arc rail adapters for my Earmor headset. In the States, Earmor is Opsmen. If you're interested in this headset and want to know a bit more about that, I've done a separate video on it. I'll link it down in the description below. Go check that video out. Really recommend this headset. Works really well. The noise reduction feature works really well when you're using Angola Gale, flashbangs, grenades, stuff like that. If you're in a room and it goes off next to you, it does work. It's the best comms platform I've found and used yet. I tried Raycals, I tried Throat Mic. This is the third one. These things take a hit like a champ. If you look at my Instagram pictures and stuff, you'll see they've been hit in mic sections, in the buttons, around the back here, in all these connectors. It took a really good hit once in this connector here. You just wipe it off. They are water resistant. If it rains, then they're not going to break. There's water seals on this back part. Really resilient. You can just unclip them. You can use a damp rag. I wouldn't submerge them obviously over anything. It is a headset, and if you submerge it, you're going to break speakers and stuff. When you're wearing it, from the external point of view, getting them wet isn't a massive deal. Just don't go swimming in it. Another thing these head covers do is cables and things from headsets and anything you want to put on here, you can hide them behind it. It's a good cable management system. This version of this headset has a really nice solid mouthpiece here. When you're putting the headset on, I'll have it up like that to keep it out of the way of the cables, and once you've got it on, you just put it down and sit it over the front of your mask. It will pick up your voice, no problem at all. Okay, moving around to the front. There's no camera in at the moment. I run a GoPro Hero 4. If things pick up and I can upgrade that camera, I'm slowly working on camera setup. Got a camera setup on my T15 now. I'll be doing a video on that. It's quite a bespoke camera setup. Some of you might be interested in. I've had people asking me questions about it. It's quite unique and people want to know where I get it from and how I put that together. But yeah, and that's just on like the Shure mount. Cheap mount off of Amazon with some GoPro adapters here. I try and get that camera sort of like this. I try and keep it to my POV, as it is quite tricky getting that in the same position every time to keep the shot consistent. I have to kind of move it, check that it's on, it's recording, then move it back, and sometimes it moves out. Works really well for me. So here you ask, how does this all work with your mask system? So I'll get my mask out. Essentially, this is the Army KLR. I got this mask mainly because if you look at the top of it, where it sits, it's a completely flat profile along the top. A lot of paintball masks have peaks and raised sections, and I thought, well, if I'm going to be wearing this with a helmet, I want something that's going to fit under that helmet quite well. There's a small lip here that doesn't get in the way. It's a mean mask, and it was a good offer when I got it as well. All things combined, I went with this mask. Because the mask goes into the front here, I've got KT tape. If you're not familiar with KT tape, it's kinesthetic tape. Physios use it. It's a stretchable, sticky fabric, and I've just lined out the inside of here to minimise any scratches because it pops over top there. There's no visible scratches that I can see on there, so it does a pretty good job. It doesn't rub or bounce on there. So when I'm on the field, obviously you've got to get this headset on without having too much bother. So I tend to put the earmuffs at the back, so the straps are available here. Everything's out the way. The mic is up out the way. Take my hat off now. Here you go. See my hair? Mask on first. Then helmet. There you have it. Helmet is nice and pushed up against those two front pads, so it won't go any higher than that, but there is plenty of room there. No wobble. For those of you that are wondering how my helmet setup looks when it's on, there you go. And to take it off, it's just the reverse. Pop the headset up, take it off, move the mask, quickly put my hat back on. There you have it. This works really well for me. I mean, I've recently wore this all day from 9 in the morning through till 5, 6 in the evening. Not continuously, but in and out of games. Every sort of 30, 40 minutes we're in and out of games. Hot play, getting hit, you can kind of wipe things down with a rag. The more stuff you have on here, the trickier it does get to clean. But for the most part, you can pop off the headset and the camera mount and just submerge it and dunk it and hang it on the washing line. I hope that goes some way to answering a lot of the questions people have about my headset and my setup for my headgear and my camera, my mask and everything. Everything fits together well. I'll put a list of bits down in the description, some helmets and stuff that like these straps and the pads and the Earmor stuff. All these bits, I'll give you some links so that you can go off and have a look for yourself. Hope you've found that interesting. Thank you for watching. If you want to support the channel, make sure you like, subscribe, share, bell notifications, all that stuff. There's a bunch of stuff down in the description about how you can support the channel if you feel you want to. But all needs to be said is big thank you to you for watching, and I'll see you in another video.